Hi, everybody, and welcome back to COVID-19, the opportunities you didn't think of. I'm your host, Casey Wallace, and on this episode, we are honored to have an extraordinary speaker and practitioner, transformational coach, all-around spectacular gal, Renee Feeler. We've had the pleasure of chatting with Jill on one of our other programs here on Xpnsion Network. And, we sent out the call to people for this show, and boy, the people who just showed up immediately are always those people that we can count on, to be able to turn to. And Jill has the type of energy that is so supportive in any type of limitation that you're experiencing in your life, let alone kind of this interesting transition that we're all going through worldwide. And so we want to invite you to sit back, of course, just relax. Sometimes we want to tell the audience, you can close your eyes and just listen to the beautiful voice transmission, of what's coming through. Get yourself engaged and get ready to be encouraged. This program is all about lifting all of us up, letting us see that we are not victims, that we are creating every experience for our life. And I think better than that we get to choose what we create from things in our lives, that we aren't subject to only one outcome or one experience for ourselves. And Jill certainly is a supporter of that type of theory. Jill, welcome, of course, again to this show. And it is so lovely to have you with us today. Thanks for your generous offer of spending time with us for the show.
I welcome the invitation, and I'm so glad to be here alongside you again and your beautiful audience, and yes, to inspire and support. And I just hope there's at least one thing and hopefully many things that come through for us today to help us feel stronger in the light that we are. I feel like for many of us, there is this sense of how can I help? And it makes me want to cry. Oh, I don't want to cry because I can't talk when I cry. But so many of us, and I feel like many of the people, maybe even all of the people that are listening or watching today, have this sense of feeling like there's something that you can be, like there's something that you can offer amidst this COVID-19 situation, crisis, et cetera. And I would say yes, 100%. If any of you feel that way, that are hearing this or watching this, I just really ask you to really contemplate, is this your nudge? Right? I mean, we know, Casey and Brad, from your situation that a near-death experience sometimes it's more than a nudge. It's a pick you up, set you in position, and there you go, right? Some of us don't have that sort of dramatic God tapping you on the shoulder experience. So some of us feel a bit more hesitant. And I know I can relate to that too, just feeling like I think I can be something that's useful in this world that's beyond my 5 human senses, that maybe is transcendent of my humanness. But there's this hesitation because we're not sure if we're being sort of picked for the team. And I would just encourage everybody to decide that you're picked for the team because you have a human bodysuit. To me, that is really the only evidence you need, is that you have a human bodysuit, you are a fellow human, and that you're feeling this inner desire to be more and to be something of value and of service and of purpose for others. Now, related to that, I think some people get too far into the self-sacrificial sort of martyr sort of aspect of that. And I know from my experience, that just isn't necessary to throw yourself under the bus in the process. Do you agree with you? Yeah, I see you're nodding. I'm like, what else does she want to add about that?
Love Jill's dialogue. I'm just like, bring it on, bring it on. Number one, I support you that if you're even watching this program, we know you're part of the team, right? I mean, there it is right there. But yes, you're right. Then that altered ego starts, as always, kind of starts to creep in. And we can sabotage ourselves. I think a lot of us have been sabotaging ourselves up to now. I'm going to do it when I get the time, and then we create distractions for ourselves. We don't just get distracted. We create distractions for ourselves to give us those excuses for the limited reach or the limited gifts or the limited contributions. And now that rug's just been, really? Okay, well, here's here's the opportunity that we've all created for ourselves. And you're right, Jill, where do I go from here? And so, yeah, how do we know where we go from here?
Okay. So that how I really feel like we keep wanting there to be a really clear set of instructions or a really clear clairaudient message of, go do this, go do that. And I know for my connection with what I call my team, I never feel it that explicitly or clear. It's more just like fluffy thought bubbles that like what I want to have for lunch today. It's never something that whacks me over the head. So I really encourage everyone to, what would you want to do? If you knew you wouldn't be rejected, and if you knew that it would feel amazing to you to step maybe further outside of your current comfort zone, what would you do? And maybe even make a list and just play with that. It could be something small, it could be something big. The thing is, we'll never know how it's going to go. And I would suggest that your decision about whether to be a more expanded version of your love and your light and your compassion should never be based on how well or how silent that response is going to be. It's okay if that initial reason is just that you want to do it, that you want to break outside of that comfort zone, not knowing how it will go. But I was, as I was eating my breakfast today, I was thinking about our conversation. I made some notes. I normally don't do that. So what came up is proactive love versus passive love. And a lot of us have been feeling more of a passive form of love, that we're sort of like waiting on the sidelines, waiting to be, like I said, picked by God, picked for the team. And we already established that you've been picked for the team. So what role do you want to play? And you get to decide what that is. That could be calling somebody that is on your mind, that maybe lives alone, or maybe is, surrounded by their family, and maybe they've got some family dynamics that maybe aren't so healthy and harmonious. Who knows what a little phone call or a text message or just reaching out saying, hey, I'm thinking about you today. That is a human angel. That is an angelic response. That is you demonstrating and actively being the love of source energy that you can be while we're in a bodysuit. Okay? So this idea of proactive love versus passive love kind of got me excited, because a lot of us have gotten in the habit of being a more passive form of love. And it can be scary to be proactive love because it is unclear. We don't know what that means. But I would suggest you don't have to know what it means. You can just experiment and really be curious about how different things feel to you as you become more demonstrative of this very beautiful, sacred, pure, loving intention that you have in your heart.
I want to support you on that. Early on, when we were, when I was transitioning, using Joyous, kind of in front of an audience, and like you said, are we going to put ourselves out there? What are we doing with this? And all of the agendas and requirements we put onto our own selves to measure whether or not we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And of course, for the human, that always equates to a certain level of success. Well, if this is really what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm going to be this huge, success in however you measure that. And if I'm not, nobody's going to show up, or I'm only going to have one person in my audience. And early in that conversation, Julius had a conversation with Brad and said, if there was only one person that you totally transformed in their life into knowing how powerful they are, to love themselves, to be compassionate, to finally wake up and come out of amnesia, would all of this be worth doing that for one person? Or is there a minimum requirement that it has to be 1 million? Like, where do you sit in your own agenda and requirement for your self-performance in love expansion, right? So Brad, of course, is, typical warrior guy. And, after a little bit, he said, I guess I would have to say that embracing the teachings that I'm trying to extend out there, that, yeah, if I knew that one person, if I'd made a difference in that one person's life, and Julia said, good, because that one person's you. Okay.
Nice.
And that was it for us, okay? Knowing that really the journey is our own love and compassion that is happening in the service of everybody else's. That's it. And we always come back to that. You know, if we ever catch ourselves thinking, well, that didn't hit as big of an audience as we wanted, and oh yes, this one over here did, and starting to pick and choose the ways we're going to do it, we come back to, but if there's one person sitting there, it's still worth, you know, what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. And I love that each of us have a different sort of flavor of that energy. Some are naturally inspiring. Some people tend to be more on the soothing, calming, let me give you a hug without words sort of vibration of source energy. And I love that we can really embrace what we're natural at, what we're naturally good at, and what feels more comfortable to us. I love words. I've always been very wordy in my expressiveness of love through language and things like that. But I really, really appreciate the people that can just give you a look of knowing that makes you feel so seen, so heard, so valued, and so loved. So making it their own.
Personalities, you know, we don't have to dump the personalities that we have. I mean, we're working to hopefully kind of refine our personalities to let go of some of the really sharp edges. But, you know, some of us, like you said, are a little more outgoing and get it out there and kind of in your face. And then there's the softer ones and mild ones and, you know, anything in between. And all of it is that source energy. And all of it is intended to support what we refer to as the multifractaled aspect of source, not fragments, but fractals that are constantly growing and expanding themselves. We all are intended to have those variable personalities to touch and inspire the different personalities. So let yourself be you. Let yourself be you. That's, I think, the highest version of you that you can reach for, but we still love who everybody is, right?
Exactly. I love how you said that. And maybe for somebody that hasn't felt like they've taken that leap and allowed themselves to sort of break their own mold and be a more maybe glorious version of themselves, maybe they have a perception that it will feel very unlike who and what they are. But in my experience, I know for myself and with my client work, it often, once you've done that, once you get more comfortable at it, you realize, wow, this is actually what I was all along. Maybe just acknowledging more that natural caring side of oneself, that natural desire to inspire and encourage and help somebody feel seen and heard, is that source vibrations. Those are the source vibrations within us, and it should be natural. It should feel like a normal part of yourself that is just finally being allowed to be expressed and acknowledged as valuable, as necessary, and as, I mean, if a crisis like this isn't a motivator to take another leap of expressing and being source love, I don't know what would be. I think it's just a wonderful way. And I personally don't feel it like COVID-19 was divinely orchestrated by any galactic council or something, but we can use any situation on Earth to further the vibration and flow of source energy, love, compassion, and grace in this reality. So I'll use it for all it's worth to do that.
The story with a couple of other interviews that I've had, that very early on the onset of this, when everybody was or a good portion of people were in panic, and of course the stores are being strip mined, and that those I kind of call them the horrid survive at all cost instincts kick in, even at the expense of somebody else. I'm going to survive, and that was flooding everything. And all of us were kind of, in shock and trying to kind of find our bearings as to, where we're going to settle in on this. and a friend of mine that I know from high school, just kind of on my Facebook thread, bless his heart, and it was a very small post, and it was very just kind of heartfelt. He basically just said, hey, you know, for anybody who's in the Los Angeles, Glendale area, and you need help, my wife and I, we're going to the market for people, call us, contact us. And I was like, and there it is. And I wrote to him and I said, I'm reposting this. Here it is, people. Let's go. Let's flip now. Here's the lead domino, at least on my feed, besides what I was trying to put out there. And it's like, and there it is. There's the compassion. We have that choice. My grandmother, who, if she were alive today, would be about 110 years old, who passed away about 15 years ago, lived through the Great Depression as a young adult. And then my own parents, in my own life, in the 60s, in California especially, the aerospace industry crashed. And that's a huge corporation, General Dynamics, aerospace. That caused a huge recession in the late 60s, early 70s for people. Our generation, of course, Jill, we kind of went through that 2008, you know, thing. Oh, yeah, thing. And so, you know, I'm hoping that we're getting a little more resilient. I mean, things happen. But the very same things that got you through any disruption in your life, which I would imagine would be the love, the support, the compassion, the possibilities of things. We're just lean on that. That's right there. It's who we are, right?
Yes. I agree. We're stronger. We're far more resilient as a form of life in our humanity than we give ourselves credit. And it's interesting that I know from my client work that some that have been through maybe the worst things, the most traumatic, dramatic situations, sometimes are the strongest individuals, and sometimes they're the most insecure individuals for obviously valid and verified rational reasons. And yet, if they could take their own traumatic events and say, if I live through that, I can live through anything, right? And I feel like that's much more true the more that somebody has been through. And this sense of resilience and trusting our ability to adapt and evolve and all those things really, really comes in handy now. And some of us do that naturally. Some don't do that naturally. So by pointing it out to them, hey, you've been through a lot. I sense you might get through this too. That can be just the pearls of wisdom that can get somebody through a tough day or a tough week or however long this is going to last, right?
And also, you know, we have this extraordinary communication resource. Obviously, this is one of them, you know, with this program. And this is the ability, like you said, to touch each other more efficiently and effectively all day long if we want to. We're rooting each other on, throwing ideas around. You know, I don't know what I'm going to do about this. Well, you know what? How about this? Just that supportive energy. Jill, for your own self, I know that in your whole life, you've done your own extraordinary transformational work, and you've met the calling to carry that forth and assist other people to do that in their lives. So thank you for being part of the, I think, my heart tribe, you know, of our people. I know, getting back to some of the basic beginning stuff for people, what are some of the real strong tidbits that you deliver to your clients without giving your services away too much here, but a little bit of, you know, what can we do? What are some of the basic steps? We need to get out of fear. We need to get out of reactiveness. We get into the calm. What are some of the things that you talk to your students and your clients about?
Let's do them right here. And by the way, I never really think of my clients as students, because I feel like the way that it's shown to me as our source energy, as the infinite self, is that there's always something that another aspect of source knows that you don't know. And there's always something that you know that they don't know. So there's this beautiful sort of yin yang, sort of giving and receiving and sharing and taking in, that is additive to the whole. So I always look at it as I'm learning in my client work and they're learning from me. And it's just a wonderful system of supportive non-guru, really, really shoulder to shoulder honor and respect and love for each other. So that was one little, little addition I wanted to make there. But let's just do a step right here, because the main thing, I mean, there's a lot of things I help my audience and my clients with, but one thing is getting back in their body. There are so many ways in our consciousness and expanded sense of soulfulness that we can actually feel like our humanness is getting in the way. And our energy field, the way it looks to me, it sort of creeps up in the chakra system so that there's very little energy in the lower chakras. And there's a huge amount of energy in the upper chakras. So we sometimes in a situation like that, somebody can be forgetful. They lose track of keys. They don't pay much attention to finances and money. And they don't really value the physicality of their humanness because they're so excited maybe about getting messages or sharing their healing gifts and things like that. So let's just do a step right now, if you're okay with it, to just get back in the bodysuit. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So I'm just going to encourage everybody, really feel your body. Feel the weight of your body as you take a nice deep breath with me. On this next breath, just notice your lungs expanding and how amazing that is that that does it on its own. Feel the way you may be sitting in a chair or standing on the ground or lying on a bed or wherever you are. Feel the gravity being a force of energy that holds you, that cradles you, and that supports you in this very strange place called Earth. Nice deep breath. Feel the strength of your bones, that you are held together in this bodysuit with bones as your skeleton and the skin that holds and the tissues, and how everything is working together for wholeness and unity of you being you. Nice deep breath. Now, I'd like everyone to put a smile on your face if you don't have one on your face already. And try to find, or maybe imagine or create, a layer of you that is so happy that you are you, that your infinite self gets to play you amidst this crisis. That you are a unique and special, invaluable, perpetually valuable aspect of source energy, and that you're in charge of that, that you're the leader, that you're the central command, and that all that you're being asked to do is be yourself, be your love, be your light, be your natural personality that is uplifting, inspiring, calming, soothing, compassionate, healing for others. Nice deep breath. Your bodysuit is your doorway to this reality. Your bodysuit is your framework to live and be as you are led. Pay attention to your feet, wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. Let your mind be open and your heart be full of all the possibilities, of all the different ways that you can move forward, not just through this COVID-19 experience, but in general, in all the days and all the years and hopefully decades and decades that you have left as your gift of life that you are in this reality. And thank you for being here. And so it is.
Thank you so much, Jill, for that. I love, daily practices are I think really supportive for all of us. You know, no matter where you are, like you were saying, there's the what's been referred to as kind of the super fluffy people up here that can't even connect to what most people would perceive as the daily lives. And then there's the people who are so embedded in the daily lives that they can't reach for the inspirational possibilities out there. And finding that balance somewhere between them. But also this, I find, unfortunately, that can be a fairly consistent issue with humanity and people is their own self-worth. Their own self-worth, that internalized lack of their own worthiness. You know, unfortunately we hold as a society, many people are proclaimed to be more valuable, maybe because of either the money they make or the amount of followers they have or whatever it is. And unfortunately, that can reinforce the lack of self-worth issue. And through what you just spoke of, you know, being appreciative that we're valuable. Each of us are valuable. That's that, okay, I'm not only am I feeling better about myself, but I'm valuable to contribute, the contribution aspect for everybody. And really, this is a great time to learn how to really sustain that for ourselves. Would you agree?
I totally agree. And I know from my own experience, even it's not about knowing how things will go. And you addressed that very well earlier too. It's about trying. It's about the experimentation. It's about the curiosity of how would I do this? Or how would I be my love in this way? How would I offer my wisdom in that way? How did that feel? How did that go? Not necessarily in terms of response, but how it felt to you. I know the very first reading that I did that I talked about when we first got together just a few weeks ago, I felt more alive than ever by allowing myself an experience that was beyond my 5 human senses as Jill, that was beyond anything I was trained to do in my human experience. I had transcended the maybe 3D and 4D layers of myself and allowed something else to sort of reveal itself and pop out. And I was shocked. And I was surprised. And I really feel that all of us, all forms of life have these transcendent layers. And we don't know how it will go, but it sometimes feels amazing. Sometimes it's shocking, but hopefully in a positive way about what we are capable of. So I'm not a person that looks forward to crisis situations and hopes that they'll come. I don't feel like transcendence has to come about through pain or suffering or tragedy. But I do recognize that all of us as humans have different motivations for stretching our wings and really trying out another version of ourselves. I know my husband's been working from home. He's an executive. He's a CEO of a publicly traded company. He has a very big job. And it's been really, it's been very comforting and beautiful to see him seeing himself in another way. And the role that he plays, and that his employees they were comforted by a little video that he did on his phone in the backyard. He's never done anything like that, right? So there's just little sort of, I think they want to hear from me this way. I think that maybe somebody would benefit from seeing me this way, or, how can I help is basically what this is all stemming from. And sometimes we don't know what we're capable of until we try. And it literally could be anything. So that creative force. And from what you were talking about earlier, there is this untapped potential. And I get super excited about that we can surprise ourselves at what we're capable of. I love surprises, though. I'm not somebody that wants to know exactly how everything's going to go. I love the spontaneity and the unpredictability of this reality. And I feel like we can use that to our advantage. Yeah.
I'm inspired to share. I love to share little stories to get into people's hearts. I'm the youngest in a family of 5 children. And like most babies of a family, I was kind of the baby of the family. My older siblings did a lot for me. And so I think on the onset, I may have looked like I was very capable, but really secretly it was my older sister who tied my shoe for me that morning, not me. and my brother that got me dressed, not me. So I don't think my parents really had an idea of how much of a baby I still was. And so my birthday at that time fell right on the cusp, the day of whether you could decide to put your child in school or hold them back a year. And so they had a little child psychologist where you could take your child to. So my parents take me in, I'm like 5 years old. They go into the child psychologist and I say to them, my name is Casey Spear, and if you hand me a pencil and a paper, I will write it for you. And the psychologist was like, oh my gosh, this child's ready for school, right? I spent every single day in kindergarten crying for my mother all day. Over and over and over and over again. I was terrified of school. I didn't want to go to school, and finally, I don't know how long into the school year, we were supposed to do an art project, and I'm just constantly saying, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. Of course, because my brothers and sisters had done everything for me, duh. But anyway, I can't do it. And I remember that teacher with love, I can even remember her name, saying, Casey, you're going to do this, and just putting those art supplies in front of my, and I did it. Tears streaming down my eyes. I think she probably maybe even said, you're not getting up from the table until you do it. That feeling, it flipped that switch with me of confidence. I did it. I can do this. Totally helped to assist the flip and the transformation of me. I don't think that teacher even realizes that.
So
and these are those kind of times. You're feeling afraid, you're feeling limited, you're feeling like I can't do this, and yet each day that you take a breath and you put a smile on your face and you outreach with some kindness to somebody else, and you're like, I can do this. I can do this. And that encouragement then for further self-discovery of self.
Yes.
And I feel led to speak also to those that know they can do this. They're not in the insecure kind of camp. They're in the very confident forms of light sort of camp that are actually extra inspired, extra focused. I've definitely been like that. I mean, I feel hyper focused about what I do and what I put on my website, and let's do the intro to meditation packet. Let's make it at a discount. What are we doing for the members this month? Let's have a 24 online communities Discord server for them that no matter where they are, 24/7, they can hop on there and say, hey, I'm having a bad day, or hey, I'm having a great day. How are you guys doing? Does anybody need anything? Right? They may be in India and I may be in Idaho, but so it's not like I can bring, milk over or something like that, but just this sense of virtual community that can really make a difference in someone's reality that day. So I have felt extra sort of charged up, and some people that are listening and watching may feel that way too, that they're sort of like, okay, I'm ready to go, but I don't know what to do. And again, please don't wait for instructions. This reality is really not set up well to hand out instructions of, okay, you do this, this isn't the military, right? This is more of a self-led, what do you want to do? What instructions do you wish someone would hand you today saying, hey, Michelle, go do that. Hey, Bridget, go do this. Hey, Jonathan, go do that, right? Without somebody handing you instruction, what instruction would you want to give yourself that you could say, oh, good, I'm glad you asked. I can do that, right? And sometimes, like you were pointing out, there are things that you may feel led to do that you don't know you can do. My very first class that I taught online, and I just thought, you know what? If this is a big, I will make it. It's still one of the best classes I've ever taught.
And sometimes that a little tiny bit of doubt or stress from yourself calls the performance out in you. Steps levels you up in what you can deliver to somebody. And this is really one of those opportunities for everybody, is to pick up on that form of energy for themselves.
I totally agree. And for anyone that has had those moments of, I didn't know that would go so well, or I didn't know I was capable of that, they keep going. What else do you want to do? Now what, right? And it doesn't have to be a business. It could be very unofficial, or it could be, oh, yes. And for those that are practitioners that have a business, I really feel like a lot of us as healers, intuitives, therapists, counselors, engineers even, you never know how much more your being you could be put to use and appreciated, and you'll feel your value and the reason for your beingness in situations like this. So some people stand back. So like, I don't want to get in the way. I don't want to bother somebody. There's a lot of, like you were talking about at the beginning, there's a lot of reasons why we either self-sabotage or why we go to that passive form of love. But what I keep feeling is anybody can ignore me. So I'm going to be a proactive version of Jill with all that I offer. And if they don't want to, if they don't want to do that email, if they don't want to, listen in while I offer a free class last Thursday on modeling, because I have all this MBA background and I understand modeling. So I had a sense of what was happening with the epidemiologist and immunologist and the fragility of the models that they're actually using to predict this. So I just sent out an email to my members. I was like, does anybody want to talk about modeling? Because I think it's giving me another level of appreciation for the risk and uncertainty that we're dealing with in these predictions. And I want you guys to have that same extra sense of peace and awareness and, oh, okay, wow. So that number, there's no way these predictions are going to be 100% accurate. And they were like, and I had no idea if anyone would even respond. And I got a super high response rate, easily 80 people within 10 hours had said, yeah, I may not be interested exactly in that topic, but I just want to hear from you, Jill. What have you got for us? Let's connect. And you just never know what, even from your background or from your soulfulness, will be deeply appreciated by others. And I just think, I just know a community like this is so savvy and has so many skills and so much wisdom to offer in situations like this. So if you're not the one freaking out, then I would say you probably even have more to offer to those that are freaking out, because they don't know what you know. They don't feel what you feel. They don't trust what you trust.
And it's the love and support that we give each other that makes this life joyous for us, right? We've always said, it's one thing for some people to think that their conscious journey or their awareness means you have to go live in complete isolation. And we always support, well, no, you came here to be integrated, to be involved and find that joy in the interaction, of everything that you're doing and everyone that you meet. Jill, thank you so much for your extraordinary that you are. I guess that's the best way I want to say it. Before we leave this conversation, at least for now, please tell everybody how to get a hold of you and how to touch you a little bit deeper at this time.
Oh, thank you so much. So my website is under my name. It's JillReneeFeeler.com. That's JILLRENEEF as in Frank, EELER.com. The JRF membership is probably the best way to kind of dive right in and get started. And I do have a coupon code for up to 2 free months, knowing that some people could really use the extra soulful support that we're really inspiring each other to be a transcendent version of ourselves. So I do have resources for those that are at the beginning of their awakening, and I don't want to leave them out. But for those that have been doing this decades and they're like, no, I'm ready. Like, let's do this. I'm right there next to you. So that coupon code could help, because there are people that are financially affected, obviously, by this crisis. So up to 2 months free of experience with the membership. We offer amazing resources to really support and inspire the transcendent infinite layers of source energy that are within everyone.
Thanks all of you for your viewership and your engagement and your interaction with us. This program was very specifically designed for you. From all of us, really. I know that, the co-collaboration of all of the practitioners and speakers and motivational energy beings that are on this program, we've all co-created on all of this to touch you, to love you, and to honor you. We are sending you nothing but joy and possibility and creative thought and knowing of yourself as the empowered being, not in just this time, but every moment, Masters, every moment of now. Please take the initiative to touch Jill, contact her, and get into her energy space. Let that nurture you, let that harness you, and let that unleash you. Please continue to watch this programming as we continue to bring you the best of the best to get you where you choose to be and to assist you in knowing that you are the all. I am Casey Wallace. This is COVID-19, the opportunities you didn't think of. This is Jill Renee Feeler. And one last time, Jill, please give everybody a last inspirational thought from you.
What if you were born for this? To be your light, to be your love, to inspire and comfort others.
Blessings to everybody out there, and we will see you next time.